computed tomography, or CT, has become a critical tool in non-destructive analysis of materials, but to fully interpret a CT scan, we must have a way to identify its different components. During a summer internship at a national laboratory, I completed a project focused on applying unsupervised clustering on spectral CT data to perform material identification. I first want to talk about what spectral CT is. The lab I was working in has developed a high-energy spectral CT system that is able to produce energy-resolved data. The system consists of two main components. The first is the X-ray source. This produces high-energy X-rays at a relatively high flux, which means we have higher quality scans. The second part is the detector, which produces the energy-resolved spectral data by binning photons into one of 128 channels based on their energy level. What this means is that every pixel in a scan will have 128 values associated with it. This spectral data has been shown to have a strong potential in material identification. And the way we actually want to perform this material identification is by performing unsupervised clustering to distinguish between materials of very similar compositions. The problem with unsupervised clustering is that many algorithms require some sort of uniformity in the data, which, as you can see in this graph of the first two principal components of the dataset I will be discussing today, is not always the case, largely due to artifacts and noise in a scan. Therefore, we needed a new algorithm. The dataset I will be discussing consists of 6 ceramic cylinders arranged in this circular orientation. Here you can see the mean profiles for each material, which is just a plot of the spectral data, and even though a couple of these profiles may be distinguishable, there are 3 materials that appear to be nearly identical. Here are the full set of profiles for one of those 3 materials. We need to distinguish between the profiles for this ceramic, and you can already see there's a lot of overlap in this ceramic, while simultaneously making a distinction between these 3 materials and the materials corresponding to those much more distinct profiles. So I'll now discuss the algorithm I developed, which categorizes pixels in a scan according to material. This has 2 main steps: pre-processing the data and then clustering the pre-processed data. So first, pre-processing. This consists of 3 steps. First, I perform multi-level thresholding on the CT scan, which segments the scan and allows us to identify the pixels belonging to the material and remove the pixels belonging to air. The next step is performing erosion, a type of morphological operation, which removes a lot of the artifacts around the edges of the cylinders. You can see in these images here a binary image of the scan before and after erosion, and you can also see the pixels we've removed. Finally, we apply a box filter to the scan, which smooths the image. This pre-processing process removes a lot of variance in the profiles for each material without significantly changing the mean profile. Now we're finally able to apply our clustering algorithm. My algorithm uses hierarchical clustering iteratively to repeatedly find only 2 clusters. So instead of identifying multiple clusters in a single iteration, this algorithm first uses hierarchical clustering to divide the dataset into 2 clusters. The smaller of these 2 clusters forms our first cluster. Then, the iterative hierarchical clustering method is repeated on the larger of the 2 clusters, and this process is continued until we have formed the pre-specified number of clusters. So how did this algorithm actually perform? Let's first look at traditional hierarchical clustering, k-means clustering, and db-scan. They did not perform well on the ceramic cylinders. In these graphs here, each bar corresponds to a material and each color corresponds to a cluster. What we want to see is every material corresponding to a unique cluster and vice versa. That is clearly not the case here. In particular, those 3 very similar materials I showed you at the beginning were clustered together with all of these 3 algorithms. With our iterative hierarchical clustering method, however, we got 100% accuracy. Note that not all points were assigned a label, but of all clustered points, every pixel in a cluster corresponds to only 1 material. This means that our algorithm was successful in distinguishing those highly similar materials. So in conclusion, this project has the potential to have significant impact in the field of CT. First, as of now, this pre-processing and iterative hierarchical clustering algorithm is the first and only known unsupervised machine learning algorithm that can accurately differentiate between materials given spectral CT data. While there are existing supervised learning approaches, having an unsupervised method is important because analysis of objects can still be performed without the need of carefully labeled training data. These results can have a major impact on fields that leverage non-destructive analysis of materials. Many threat detection techniques in areas like airport and border security, for example, rely on CT. The application of my algorithm to spectral CT data could make the threat detection process more reliable and robust. In the future, we do need to test the generalizability and scalability of the iterative hierarchical clustering algorithm, but the algorithm does seem promising in its ability to identify clusters at different sizes and shapes. This could have significant impact on fields beyond just those that use CT. This work was published in the conference proceedings of the SPIE Optics and Photonics 2018 conference, and I was first author on the paper. The National Lab also submitted a technical disclosure for a patent, for which I was named the primary inventor. Thank you.